Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Building Bucharest. It's Skibitth here, and today we are heading up north. Previously, if you remembered, we built the 𝐂𝐷𝐀𝐄 Triumph. And now we are going to build a very big and important building in Bucharest. It's like a trademark for us. It's a very big and communist building, actually. Now it's called House of the Free Press, but before it was called Casa Scântei, so something like House of the Sparkle. It was named after a newspaper. But anyways, this one was built during the communist area, and it was built after they destroyed a racetrack, a horse racetrack. Very well known in Bucharest, like in the 60s or 50s. And now this is what we have in the area. So the hippodrome or the horse racetrack was around this area, something like that. I'm not very familiar because I saw those pictures, but I don't have a proper map to see it. And now what I'm going to build today, even though it took me a lot of time, it is this big house over here, detailing this big roundabout, these streets over here, trees, these two boulevards, well, a part of them, and just a tiny bit of this area surrounding the entire House of the Free Press. So let's start by building this roundabout. I did quickly the roundabout, and now I'm just linking all those roads that are coming and exiting the roundabout. It's a pretty messed up type of roundabout. That is because it works the same way as the one from 𝐂𝐷𝐻 Triumph. It has traffic lights, both at the entrance of the roundabout, but also inside the roundabout. So at a point, you will have to give way inside the roundabout. Someone else told me that in the end, this should not be called a roundabout, more like a round intersection or so. Honestly, I'm not sure how you have to call it in English when you have traffic lights in a roundabout, but nonetheless, it's round and it's about it. It is what it is, guys. Anyways, let's look at the roads that are in front of the big building over there. These roads are actually, let's say, hosting a lot of parking lots. And beside the parking lots, they are hosting a lot of cars that are just parked on the roadside. Sometimes it's a total madness when it comes to the parking area there, because you can see cars parked everywhere. And that's what you will actually see most of the times in Bucharest. And if I'm not mistaken, it's also a free parking area. So hell yeah. I also parked there when I went to take some shots for this episode. I went and parked the car there. It was during the weekend and I got some nice weather. Now I'm gonna tell you again, I think it's again, that I'm using a lot the curbless roads. You'll see me using these in this series many times, and that is because it's very easy to create sunken roads but also add ploppable asphalt, clipping network underneath, and then you just can plop down lots of parking little lots there. This way cars will not drive through those parking lots, okay? I know there are different type of roads with parking spaces for cars, but you cannot do them properly. If you want to make them larger, smaller, wider, and so on, you can't simply do that. So these are the ones that you need the most in your city. Now, the most challenging part was to build the entire huge building, and that is because there is nothing like that on the workshop. Nothing similar or that big, just to simply modify it a bit or so. So I said, okay, let's go for it. Let's completely build it in the game to make it as much similar as possible as the one that in real life, right? So I looked through the entire workshop because I have a cool collection that allows me to do so. And I found these buildings that you see right now using here, and with the help of procedural objects mod, I'm gonna get pretty close to the real one. Even though this is the second time that I'm doing this, and in the first time when I did this, I found different buildings which were pretty cool as well, but they are not that similar like these ones. I liked it, but then I said, okay, half a day of work, no problem. Let's forget about it and let's do it from scratch. And I worked, I think, not 2 days, because I didn't do it properly, like hour after hour, but probably in the end it was like a work of a 12 hours or so, if not even more, when I've tried to replicate everything. Thank you so much, Simon, for doing this mod, which still, after so many years, is the best mod out there. The textures of these buildings are, again, quite similar with the ones from real life. And as you saw, the building I was using doesn't have like very small arches at the ground level. So I had to create them myself, or to add them separately, let's say. And I did that because that's how it is in real life. As I said, I want to be as close as possible to real life. So I did that. Also at the top floor of the building, there are other arches, different type of arches. And that was a different challenge. And I was like 50-50. Should I go for it or should I leave it as it is? Because I had to go till the end of this entire build to compare it with Google Earth, to see if I'm very close to it at the height level, let's say, right? And that was the deciding point, if I should leave it or not, like that or not. So you saw how I did those towers and the top of those towers. It was really challenging as well, and it took me some time actually. I think I tried few ways and few ideas, and in the end I ended up with this one that you just saw. Now at the corner of these buildings there is another, let's call it, small problem, and that is you have to have a continuity of those arches. So I had to modify a bit the buildings, but then copy paste on the other side, because thankfully things in a communist area, let's call it, it's always symmetrical. So what they did on the left side, they'll do it on the right side as well. So that's what I did. Copy paste. Now moving to the middle part of the building, the middle building, let's call it, the main one, the most imposant one. I went with the same approach. I'm using the same long building, but this time there is something differently that has to be done. First of all, in front of the building we have some stairs, and we also have some arches which are a bit taller than the ones from the different building, and they have some nice windows and so on. So I was thinking, I had a lot of time to think and a lot of trial and error for this, and I went up with some actually windows. I placed some windows, so prop windows, make them bigger and plop them right in those arches, and that was it. It was an easy go for that. And in front of those, let's call them towers, there are some towers, like 4 towers on all corners of the main building, and for those I just went with the same towers as before, but make them smaller or narrower, and then at the bottom of the floor level I went down with let's say with whole granite around the entire floor, because it doesn't have windows, only the door. It's a big door, also in an arch, and that looks pretty cool actually, but even though it's an old style door. And in front of it on the stairs there are some extra flat areas where you can see or find some very old lights. They have a French, let's say, style, and thankfully I've managed to find something on the workshop that looks pretty similar, I can say. The next thing that I had to do to make things look, let's say, more realistic and as it is in real life, I had to add lots and lots of AC units all over the place at all windows, at least for the front side. I didn't want to add on the other side as well and few other buildings, but later I realized that the building should be actually much taller, so I'm just, let's say, adding extra floors to this building, even though if you count them like in real life I have more here, but in terms of height, I thought I should go for a higher level, let's say. The interesting part for this main building was to also do the top of the building where we have those corners, and each corner, I want to say tower, has something on top of it. It's different than what we have on the small buildings, so I'm just trying to do something in the same way but to make it look more like the ones from real life. It was definitely not easy at all, and I want to say the worst part, but the hardest part, let's say, was to make the middle part of the top floor, right, of the roof floor, let's say. There are so many columns there and so many stuff that are really hard to replicate, but hey, I found a solution in the end and managed to do it, and I just copy it over and over again. I made some new stuff, actually. I created like new stuff to plop down on top of those columns. I hide a lot of stuff in there. In the end, it looks nice. This entire, I want to say, peak of this building, it's full of antennas, so all sort of antennas, and also on the floor itself there are lots of antennas, not only on these columns. But it's interesting, and I'm really satisfied, taking into consideration that I made this out of props, buildings and whatnot with procedural objects. On the two sides of this main building there are two roads, one on each side of course, and it takes you behind the building through some really nice arches that I also made here in the game, of course. And behind one side there is like a restaurant or an area where you can have all sorts of events and so on, and on the other side it's just a big parking area. And there are a few different entrances, but I don't know that for sure. I haven't been there. I'm just trying to figure out what else could be there. But this whole building that I made here, it's huge. And there are so many public institutes there, even a postal office, and it's full. It's full of small business, big businesses, and again, public institutes. Don't forget to leave your feedback and opinion on the comments, guys, because on the previous episode you did so, and I got over 200 comments. I read every single one of it, and these comments make me want to build faster, more, and post a video more often, let's say. Plus, push the video in the suggestion section for many people. This thing was awesome. I got a lot of views as well, so if you can do the same, please be my guest. It is amazing. If you take a look from the top, you'll see the roofs are pretty dirty, very old. Some of them are even a different color or different, I don't even know what this kind of texture is over here. But the main ones are pretty okay-ish, but the ones from behind are they're looking pretty bad there. If you look at it, it's like an abandoned area. I'm gonna do the same. I'll try to make this roof red. I don't know actually if the roof is still red in real life right now. I've actually tried to see if I can get on top of the building, but you're not allowed to visit it, or at least I didn't find anyone to help me out with that information. But it is what it is. It's fine. I will just try to make the roof in some cases red, and then one beige or yellowish color and the gray one. And to make it look more realistic, I'm gonna add antennas as well, because the roof is full of antennas, old antennas. I don't know if they are still being used or not. I don't know, but you know what? It will look pretty cool actually. And to, the final touch, let's call it, we have those stain decals on the workshop. So if you just turn them into a PO, let's say, you can recolor them, and I make them darker. And just plopping down over and over again on the entire roof, on all the buildings. And it looks pretty cool actually from a certain perspective and distance. If you do remember when we started this video, I was telling you that on the roadside, on both sides of the roads here in front of these big buildings, cars are being parked all over the place. And that's something we do here in Bucharest. We park wherever we find a spot, no matter if it is okay to park there or not. And in some cases even on grass, on a green area. I'm gonna hide some parking spaces into the ground just a tiny bit until those lines will disappear. So cars can actually park there, and this way I can avoid just plopping down over and over again some props, car props or whatever. Plus I really like seeing cars coming there, parking and do whatever they do, because inside of all these buildings that are procedure objects, I'm hiding very small RECO blocks that are working as residential buildings, offices, and actually that's it. Residential and offices I'm gonna add over here, so I can attract people coming here, you know, like living or working at the office, even some event generators to just attract more people to see more cars. Having another look over here from the top, we have two parking lots that are going on these sides, on both sides of the buildings over there, and two small roundabouts, even though they are just for parking, or that's it, because you come from here and you exit from here, that's it. Same over here. And this you can also go and come back on this road, and this road from here, it's just a one-way road. For the parking lots, I'm just gonna use the same curbless roads, adding a clipping network just underneath those roads, so I can add on top of it some ploppable asphalt. This way, where is no road, I can add parking lots. I'm trying to replicate those from real life pretty easy. And to be honest, both these parking lots that are on these two sides of the buildings are kind of identical, or at least that's how they look to me. So after I did this one from the left side, I just, you know, copy paste it on the right side too, and quite easy. People are coming, parking their cars there because, again, inside of all the buildings surrounding these parking lots, and not only, we have residentials and office blocks. There is a small roundabout that is coming from the big boulevard, and this one over here, I made it some time ago when I started working on this build, and added the ploppable grass in the middle, then adding some fences and some concrete curbs to make it look like in real life. And after that, it's easy because I can drag all those road nodes or segments to make it fit the entire circle, to make it look like a pretty perfect, let's say, roundabout. Now from this roundabout, there are some roads that are coming and going, and these roads, most of the roads actually I used today, are curbless roads. Either they don't have curb on a side or on the other one. But for the area where we don't have curb, I'm adding manually some concrete curbs from the workshop, network concrete curbs, and in between the roads I'm adding some ploppable grass as well to fit that area, and of course fitting or finalizing with some fences to make it look like it is in real life there. Of course the bushes or the trees are the final touch, let's call it. And on the one of the sides that I was telling you earlier when we were looking on Google Earth, there are two roundabouts. Actually they are on both sides. There are two roundabouts which make no sense. It's just for you to do a U-turn or something, or to park your car there, that's it. And behind this small roundabout, the road goes just down below. There is a small difference in height for the terrain there. So I have to do that, of course, in real life. And this whole area is surrounded with some bushes. If we now move in front of House of the Free Press, we will see that there are two roads. One is coming from the roundabout, the big one, and one needs getting into the roundabout, let's say. Though these two roads don't have any traffic lights. People usually tend to park a lot on these two roads, and somewhere in front of the House of the Free Press, of the parking area right there, there are some very old steps. Honestly, don't know where they were leading before, because now they don't lead anywhere. They are just, I want to say they're just being there and that's it. Because if you take those stairs, which are only few of them, you get to the green area. Probably before those ones were leading to somewhere else. And I couldn't find anything on Google or anywhere else to see, I don't know, if something was there before. I had to also lower the ground inside that area where there will be some trees and some bushes and flowers. That's it, nothing else. And if we move forward from there towards the roundabout, there is another parking area. It's a road that is linking these two other roads that I was talking about, and it's another area where cars can park. And I'm gonna apply the same, let's say, strategy like I applied before. In order for cars to park there, I'm just going to sunk into the ground some parking lots, and I'm gonna do, let's say, a random positioning, because I don't want every single car to park, let's say, the same way. Some cars are parked really bad or in a not so good position, let's say, which is again something very, let's say, used to see in Bucharest. And another thing about this area, which is a very good, cool and nice area with all these bushes, trees and whatnot. Let's say on the sides of the roads there are some bushes, hedges, and lots and lots of trees. And I'm gonna do those bushes as well, hedges, and make them, let's say, with a similar look and shape like they are on Google Earth and of course in reality as well. And on and these right next to this green area, there is a, let's say, a wider pathway for people to have a walk, and lots of benches as well if you wanna have a rest. The last challenge for today's build is this very big monument. There is nothing similar on the workshop, and I kinda have to do it myself out of small props or whatever, just to make it look the same. This is a monument, it's called Wings, and it's in memory for those who fought against communism between the Second World War and 1989, the last day of communism in this year. It's a cool one actually. If we have a quick look on it from the ground level on Google Earth, it looks pretty nice. It's really nice, and it's not easy to make. So I'm trying to do it. Of course, it's really hard to make it identical. It's not impossible. It is possible, but I didn't do it perfectly. It's very similar, no worries, guys. So what I did, guys, I used the procedural object cube because I wanted to add to it my own texture. And because of that, I can have all 4, let's say, sides of these, or actually all 6 sides of the cube. And that will help me a lot, because I found earlier, let's say, before this one, let's say the first shot, I worked with some curves which were very cool, but one side of the curve, the one that's below, that one was disappearing because no one wants to make that, let's say, face of the curve. No one will look from down upwards, so I had to have something with 6 sides, hence I used this procedural cube. Another thing that I want to highlight to you guys now is that I'm gonna release as of course procedural objects exports this monument, and you can add to it your own texture. I will export it without a texture because I have a local one, but I'll give you all necessary information on how you can do it yourself and add your own texture and play with it, have it in your city as well. It is really nice and cool. In my opinion, actually it's a monument and I'm very proud of it. So I'm gonna release this one, but only on my Patreon account, guys, to all those who support my channel for such a long time, and not only, of course, to all patrons. And it's another way of saying thank you to your support. And together with this one, I'm gonna release as well the House of the Free Press, which actually can be imported as it is, and you can enjoy it. It's a huge one, so be careful with that. It's a huge building, guys, but in my opinion, to all those that, I don't know, were willing to have a build with the East European city, then it's going to fit no matter which country are you from, or which country are you building, or city are you building. So my opinion, it's going to be awesome. Guys, thank you very much for watching. You are awesome. Stay awesome. Leave your feedback on the comment section. I want to know, and I'm gonna read every single one of it. Yeah, the cinematics will hit you very soon. See you in the next episode. Have a nice Christmas and Happy New Year, guys. I salute you.